Now I had the time of my life.
Hiya! Welcome to Otaku Evolution. I'm your host, Penguin Truth. We're almost at 200 episodes of Otaku Evolution, so I thought I'd take a look back at my favorite videos I've done. It's self-serving to be sure, but I should be allowed to do this sort of thing now and then. Here's my top 10. Number 10. Episode 66, Spirited Away. There are a few reasons this, my first review of a Miyazaki movie, is one of my favorite episodes of Otaku Evolution. For one, the opening I did set to pure imagination from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which fits with Spirited Away like a glove. Obviously, this is one of the reasons why this video could never be on YouTube, but only just one of the reasons. Another being the overly long, uninterrupted clips with audio I used. What was I even thinking? Of course it was gonna get flagged, for goodness sake. These clips are ridiculously long. I really should re-edit it. Another reason I enjoy this episode is my really strange approach to the material, which is to evoke a sense of what I call a fundamentally shared childhood wonder, or nostalgia for things that never happened, but feel like they did based on internationally shared perceptions of reality we have as kids. I say that Spirited Away brings to mind fragmented memories intermingled with imagined realities. Traces of dreams mixed with actual experiences that create a dreamlike vision. This is why I feel like the movie feels so familiar, despite being steeped in Japanese lore. It's a sense that we've all been to these places. I know that narratively, Spirited Away is kind of a mess, and the ending feels tension-free, but I just can't help loving this movie more than any of Miyazaki's other films because of the pure wondrous emotions it speaks to. A classic example of this is in my favorite scene, the train ride scene where Chihiro is summoning up all her courage to go to the witch Zeniba's lair as she watches all these otherworldly shadow people go about their lives, getting off the train to various stations. Joe Hisaishi's score certainly helps bring this scene to life with its uneasy but beautiful, almost haunting quality. Number 9. Episode 74, Patlabor 2 the Movie. Patlabor 2 is a politically charged thriller set in a world of giant piloted robots, which makes it fairly unique, especially with the way that it largely eschews the mecha action in favor for the thriller elements until the final act. I enjoy reviewing this anime almost as much as I enjoy watching it, taking in Mamoru Oshii's brilliant sense of scene composition and Kazunori Ito's attention to character relationships and philosophical musings. The movie recalls real-life incidents such as the defection of Victor Belenko, the Able Archer 83 exercise, and UNTAC, reflecting both Oshii and Ito's political beliefs and historical experience. It's a movie born in the aftermath of the Cold War with elements of that era combined with a then more modern one. Because it's so politically charged, it can be a turnoff to some people just looking for another Patlabor experience. Not that the story of Patlabor 2 is entirely foreign to the Patlabor franchise. In a lot of ways, it's a reworking of episodes 5 and 6 of the original OVA, which featured a military coup that Goto had to work in secret to stop. Here we see it takes a more personal touch with Shinobu Nagumo, as she was involved with the movie's antagonist in the past. But unlike with the OVA's villains' unknown motivations or endgame, we have a very specific reasoning behind the movies. That is, to create enough chaos in Tokyo to tear down what the plotter's belief is a sham peace, an illusion of civility and safety that the citizens enjoy. But as I asserted, Suge's own exercise in revealing the reality of the mirage the public lives under is itself an illusion. A simple parlor trick from an embittered soldier that revealed his smallness and disillusionment. And he was even used by others to carry out their own plans, even though he broke away from them to commit his own version of revenge against the system. What Goto and Nagumo do isn't taking upon their own authority to stop Suge, but entrust the newer generation of adults to create a sense of justice in society. Of note, I used the manga entertainment English dub of the movie because I enjoy Peter Marinkier's Goto and Blair Fairman's Arakawa.
I presume we have the right tape.
Yes, we've got the right tape.
I remembered the tune, but not the words.
I'm not concerned with this part, however. If you'd like to sing,
Haven't got a microphone.
then I'll wind forward.
Number 8. Episodes 131 and 132, Ronin Warriors. Let's just talk about the title cards for this two-parter first. The one for 131 is fairly basic, just the warrior standing off to the side looking towards the viewer. But I assure you, spriting the Ronin warriors was no small task, especially the more ornately armored ones like Ryo. On the other hand, the title card for 132 is possibly too busy because of all the things the viewer is supposed to pay attention to. You have the Inferno armor-wearing Ryo with the Swords of Fervor, and a transformed White Blaze. You have Anubis as the Ancient One using his staff to affect Lady Kyra from the other side of Ryo, and you have Talpa in the background. I have to say, the Ronin Warrior sprites are some of my best work. In 131, I talked briefly about some of the anime I grew up watching without knowing they were Japanese in origin. The Noozles, Adventures of the Little Koala, Maya the Bee, and the Little Bits were among them. They were all shows featured on Nickelodeon's Nick Jr. block that played in the morning and early afternoons. Those, and a syndicated afternoon block I think in UPN, consisting of Dragon Ball Z and Ronin Warriors, really introduced me to anime, though by the time of Ronin Warriors, I knew these cartoons were Japanese. I don't talk enough about the origins of my anime fandom on this show. Maybe I should do an episode entirely on the Nick Jr. anime in the future. The hardest thing, and one of the things I'm the most proud of in these episodes, was syncing the Ronin Warriors audio with the Samurai Troopers Blu-ray footage. After the first episode, it doesn't sync up perfectly. Ronin Warriors is a little sped up, I'm guessing so they could have longer commercial breaks. The syncing I did isn't perfect, but I did the best I could and think it turned out pretty decently. I hope we get Samurai Troopers on Blu-ray in North America. The Blu-rays look gorgeous. Finally, we got a little bit of story in these episodes, dealing with my usual cameraman, Terry, who at this point attends group therapy, which I like to think my character drove him to. I had the group therapy idea for a long time, actually. The therapy penguin is based off Ludwig von Drake from Disney. I think the idea I had behind this whole arc was to show how working under me would be a nightmare. Anyway, I'm really proud of these episodes. They were a labor of love.
Talpa offers unimaginable gifts. The Dark Warlords. You've seen what they can do, but Talpa lets me do so much more. So, young Ronin warriors, consider yourselves lucky to have me as your guide.
Number 7. Episode 147. Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack. In this video, I did a bit of a rundown of all the relevant, or at least in a broad sense, plot points of the original Mobile Suit Gundam, Zeta Gundam, and Gundam Double Zeta, necessary to enjoy Char's counterattack to its fullest. This means I don't have to review Zeta Gundam, right? I definitely won't be reviewing Double Zeta since it doesn't even have an English dub, but I hesitate to review Zeta because that Blue Water dub is so painful. One of the things I did in this video was defend my love of new types, which, I admit, are bullshit. I mean, why even do real robot anime if you're just gonna put a bunch of Jedi in it? But I don't know, I just love new types. I feel like special mutations as a forerunner to a full evolution of humanity makes a kind of sense, even if they take the heightened perception thing a bit farther than necessary at times. Gundam doesn't even really need new types to be good. Some of the best Gundam entries don't include them, like 0080 or 8th MS Team. But I like that little bit of kick they add to the flavor of entries like this movie. If I were doing the video today, I'd probably go more into Char's seeming attitude change between Zeta Gundam and Char's counterattack, something I only touched on here. It's a little strange that in Zeta, he's more willing to give the new generation the space they need to bud, to create a better society for humanity. But in Char's counterattack, he's convinced that he has to take matters into his own hands. What happened in between to cause him to do this? Is it a plot hole, writing Char just to have them as the villain again? Or is there something else? I wish they had gone into it in the movie. Even an offhanded comment about what happened during Double Zeta. Anyway, this movie is intensely quirky, and more than a little off-kilter, and yet its epic scale and dramatic tension is nigh unbeatable in terms of Gundam. I end the video with a montage of Amuro and Char's meetings set to I've Had the Time of My Life from Dirty Dancing, to tease at the homoerotic subtext that could be read into their relationship. No time to go into that. Number 6. Episode 13. Royal Space Force, The Wings of Unamis. Royal Space Force is my favorite anime movie, so I wanted to do something really special when I reviewed it. Problem was, This was really early in my videos and I was naive. The original version of the video has this opening featuring Across the Universe by the freaking Beatles. Like, a lot of the song. Needless to say, when I re-recorded the review and re-edited it, I cut that part out entirely. It's too bad though, because it celebrates the splendor of the film. There are a few things I did during this review that reflected my early style. One of which was brazenly rip off a joke from Bennett the Sage, which had its ultimate punchline in my Macross Plus review, honorable mention, because I thought it would be interesting to see it in sprite form. Also, and maybe this is trite, but if I were to do the review today, I'd have at least considered putting a content warning for talk of sexual assault instead of diving in head first. But at least I took it seriously. Other than those things, I think I did the movie at least some justice. I didn't do a complex dissection or anything of that nature, but I discussed why the film was important to me, and why I felt it justified its main theme beautifully, if not a little awkwardly. It's hard to watch this review again and not just stop and watch the footage in motion, because it's a gorgeous movie.
I'll still do it, even if it means I die in the process. Here's your chance to be in the history books instead of just reading them. There may never be another chance like this again. Anyone who isn't with me can leave! I will do this!
Number 5. Episodes 1 through 4. Full Metal Alchemist. It's not often you'll see a person's first videos in their list of top 10 favorites. Probably because they're usually the worst videos a producer makes. But I feel like my 4-part Full Metal Alchemist review holds up pretty well. Especially the version with the re-recorded audio for better sound quality. I actually feel like my show kind of took a downturn early on after these videos, and I didn't recover until later. My formula was talking about the premise and concept in the first part, the characters in the second and third, and then the themes in the fourth. And I think it's a solid formula since there's a lot to FMA, especially a large cast of characters. If I had to do it again, though, I wouldn't have spoiled so many important plot points that made great twists while watching. I can't decide whether or not the review was an introduction for newcomers or a celebration for other fans. I lean more towards the latter, though I think I was trying for the former at the time. One of my favorite parts of the review is in part 3, when I take a playful jab at the character of Frank Archer becoming basically a cyborg. It's still a pretty perplexing element of that 2003 show, as much as I love it. I do a few silly bits in these videos that I feel lighten the mood, but I've dialed way down on those things in recent reviews. I'd rather be more insightful than humorous. It's nice to be both, though. I end the final part of the review with a sincere thanks to the people who made the show for reigniting my anime fandom after I suffered from post-Cowboy Bebop funk. I didn't think I would ever find an anime that I'd love even close to as much as Bebop. And while I was technically right, Bebop's still my favorite, I found so many other good anime I would have missed if I had stopped watching anime then. I wonder when I'll finally get around to reviewing Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Some other time. Number 4, Episode 29, Mobile Suit Gundam 0080, War in the Pocket. Ah, my first Christmas episode. I'm so glad I made the decision to do special episodes for the holiday season, because they've been some of the most fun to work on. They really get me into the spirit of things. And I feel like the first one is especially groundbreaking for me, for a few reasons. Like, for instance, it's the first time we ever see me wear something that isn't the usual blue shirt and white pants Speed Racer combo. I'm in my winter outfit. My Gundam 0080 review is the second time I handled Gundam on the show, not that far away from the first time with Gundam F91. I wasn't completely satisfied with my F91 review for several reasons, and I wanted to review something in the franchise I had a deep respect for, and that happened to have some Christmas trappings. And I wasn't about to start with Endless Waltz. So here we are. Gundam 0080 is a coming-of-age story and a tragedy, but its main character never pilots a mobile suit. Its secondary lead does, but he's not the greatest pilot, and neither of them even know that the third lead does. It's got a lot of solid writing that builds the world and characters in a believable manner, making them flawed but sympathetic. It's incredible just how many levels it works on. One of my favorite things about this video is my Anaheim Electronics commercial. I so rarely do video bits like that anymore, and it's probably for the best, but I really relish the chance to do this one. Anaheim Electronics is sort of like an even more sinister Lockheed Martin, if you can believe that's possible. My original version of this video had a closing montage set to John Lennon and Yoko Ono's Happy Xmas War is Over, but obviously I had to remove that and put in a BitTune version of it in my revised for YouTube video. It's too bad. It's one of my favorite parts of the original video. Ah well. If I had to do this all over again, I'd do a more overall view rather than a summary.
If we didn't fight, there would have been more people killed. It couldn't be helped.
I know what you're trying to say, but nobody should ever have to die because it couldn't be helped, not if I had my way.
Number 3. Episode 100, Castle Cagliostro. My 100th episode is another classic, I feel. The original version started with a montage of my work at Penguinopolis, doing varying things to a BitTune version of Mr. Blue Sky. The edited for YouTube version doesn't have it. I don't remember exactly why I cut it out. Was it flagged for the BitTune track? It's a great montage, I wish I had kept it in. It's always a good idea to do a Miyazaki film as a milestone review, and my love for Lupin III should be well known by now. So having that cross-section is a perfect opportunity. But as I mentioned in the review, there's other great commentary on Castle Cagliostro, like Chris Meadows' amazing one, Track It Down. It's been a while since I've listened to it, but I recall it being very informative. This is why I didn't really get into the weeds about production, nor did I want to do a summary of every plot point. Craftsmanship is the key word when you discuss a Miyazaki film. He is a brilliant craftsman. It's hardly a solo effort, there was an excellent staff working on this with him, but you can see his influence throughout in the little nuances of each scene, with character movements and the like. This movie is well constructed both visually and narratively. I did go into some of the things I felt were the film's weaknesses too. As a Lupin movie, it's a little odd because Lupin and the gang are less hard-boiled and libidinous. Lupin is far more gentle in this feature, almost tender, and it's a far cry from Monkey Punch's vision. Not that Lupin can't be believably dialed down, but it's just a little alien as a Lupin piece. I like to say that Castle Cagliostro is the best movie starring Lupin, but not the best Lupin movie. Another thing is, they barely make any use of Lupin's supporting cast, especially Jigen and Goemon. Why even have them in it? They barely do anything, especially Goemon. Still a great film, though. Oh, and I guess this was also a birthday episode for me. Did I purposely schedule things so that the 100th episode would be around my birthday? I guess so, because it's too much of a coincidence otherwise.
Yes!
Number 2. Episode 113. Tenshi Muyo OVA 3. You're probably wondering, how can this be one of Mike's favorite videos? He despises this anime. But not every video on this list is a review of a favorite. These are my favorite reviews. And I just adore how I tore this OVA apart. Never have I encountered an anime more deserving of it. And I was genuinely, no joke, blood-boilingly angry at this pile of shit. The third Tenchi OVA absolutely shreds the credibility and potential of that continuity. If it's not the dearth of development for the existing characters, it's the unnecessary and superfluous addition of new ones that do nothing. Nuike is especially annoying, this too-perfect charisma-less empty vessel that is also engaged to Tenchi. And then there's the 2 episodes with Mahoshi's brother where she doesn't even interact with him. Ugh! I call this the video that almost killed me, because at the time I was working on it, I had terrible side cramps which turned out to be an inflamed gallbladder. When the surgeons were removing it, they nicked me inside and I suffered later from internal bleeding. Things were very unpleasant for a while. Then I came back to this video with a renewed zeal. Obviously this anime was trying to snuff me out and I wasn't going to let it. The main problem with the third OVA is its absolute refusal to live up to its potential and the potential laid out for it by the first 2. Z ends up being a huge disappointment as an antagonist, nothing is really made of Nobuyuki's remarrying, Washu regains her godhood without any real display, and there's a lot of confusing nonsense towards the end. And don't tell me I have to read the True Tenchi novels for this to make sense. I know what's basically in those books, and it doesn't make the execution of this any less poor. And you shouldn't have to read the books to watch the OVA. Name another anime like that. It's bullshit. I've never been so angry in a review, and it was real. I relished the chance to destroy it.
Each year, Shinjusaki isn't typically for sale, but the one time a bottle was put up for auction, it went for the price of a single planet. So you see, it's a drink normally enjoyed by only the rich and powerful. It's unheard of for mere commoners to even see it, much less taste even a single drop of this legendary wine, yet here it is, as much as they can drink.
How could anyone indulge in this? Baseless drivel!
Number 1. Episode 119, Cowboy Bebop. Okay, so while I did say that the list of my favorite videos wouldn't just be my list of favorite anime, my favorite of my videos is absolutely the one where I review my favorite anime. I know I'm bragging, but I think of this as a near-perfect review video. I start off questioning the validity of favorites in the plural, which is pretty relevant to the video you're watching now. If something isn't your absolute favorite, can it nevertheless be considered a favorite? Why is it that we have to justify how much we love something with hierarchy rankings and not just say, yeah, I enjoy that thing? I do it too, I'm just wondering why listing favorites is such a compelling pastime. I dispel the misconception that Cowboy Bebop wasn't popular in Japan next. Folks, if it wasn't popular in Japan, it wouldn't have received a movie, especially one with a large budget. I'm tired of this constant wanking by the Western fandom as if we're the only ones that have ever appreciated the show. It's tedious. I set up the premise after that. Then I establish the characters. Then I compare the main cast with the Lupin gang, which I still feel is a relevant comparison. You can clearly see the influence of Lupin in the show, even if Shinichiro Watanabe has never mentioned it. But obviously Ed isn't Goemon, that's vicious, even though he's their enemy. Goemon started as an enemy too. Also noteworthy is that, like the Lupin gang, even though the crew of the Bebop are talented, they often fail. Next, I dive into the cinematic influences in Cowboy Bebop, which range from martial arts films and noir to blaxploitation and westerns. Then I talk about the legendary Yoko Kanno's music, which is always worth mentioning. But what I'm most proud of is my discussion of the themes and dynamics of Bebop, about hunger and what independence means, that sense of a missing piece and the downfall of chasing it down, people who don't let things go. I talk about the character relationships, about how the Bebop is a dysfunctional family, or a potential family that can't quite adhere because of their fiercely independent natures and lack of communication skills. Finally, I take some time out to ask questions about plot elements I always had curiosity about, but weren't exactly clear. Like the war on Titan, what was that about? Force field technology? And the power structure of the Red Dragon Syndicate. I close out once again talking about favorites, and how I'm always impressed every time I watch the show. As I put it, it defies genre while also embracing it. That's just the paradox that describes Cowboy Bebop, and that's a big reason I love it so much.
You should see yourself. You have any idea what you look like right at this moment, Spike?
What?
A ravenous beast. The same blood runs through both of us. The blood of a beast who wanders, hunting for the blood of others.
I've bled all that kind of blood away. Then why are you still alive?
And those are my favorite Otaku Evolution videos. Maybe in the future, this will be one of my favorite videos. That'd be meta. Anyway, I don't know what I'll be doing next time, but I'll pick something special for my 200th video. I assure you. Until then, see ya! Oh no, I'm not reviewing that. I know, but Fine, if I have no other choice. Yeah, I know. I'll do it.